Hello and welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. Thank you so much for joining this week's episode, where we have the amazing guest, Marc Coleman, where he dives deep and tells you how he made his calling card, an award-winning film, and also got the film onto Shudder. Marc Coleman is a director and writer, and he's made the feature films ManFish and Members Club, which has just dropped now. You can watch this now. This was a Fright Fest official selection, so if you didn't see it there, then now's the time to watch this really cool, really creepy, really wonderfully offbeat comedy horror. And as you know from the episode with Stephen Follows and Jen Handorf 2 episodes ago, the Horror Report, horror comedies make money. If anyone tells you they don't, you can put Stephen Follows' full information, facts and figures in front of them and say, yeah, sadly for you, they do. Or not, great for me, they do. Myself and Marc chatted about how he got started in this industry, how he went from acting to directing, how he made a short film for the Empire magazine for the Gone in 60 Seconds and won. He won for his excellent short Legend Vision, which is all about the Chuckles Brothers. If you've not seen it, check it out. It's brilliant. We talk about making shorts and making a calling card as a feature film, which is exactly what he did with ManFish. Why rehearsals are so important, especially when you have such little time to make your feature. We talk about on-set, what that's like. We talk about developing your projects, working with the right people, making something for very little money, pretty much nothing, with your friends, and going out there and doing it. We talk about negotiating contracts, especially in the difficult era of sales and distribution. And we talk about marketing and getting your films out there and seen. ManFish is available now on Shudder. Isn't that amazing? He got his debut movie that he made as a calling card onto Shudder. It is also on Sky Store and Amazon Prime right now, and Hulu in the USA. And his latest feature film, Members Club, is out now on Sky and Amazon Prime. Excellent. So the chat with Marc Coleman and myself is coming up very soon, but I wanted to give a shout out to Jed Shepard, because not only is he just a wonderful guy, but also in the indie filmmaking horror world, he's just making waves. He's the producer of the smash hit horror Host, which came out during lockdown, I'd say, and it was set on a Zoom. So it's a horror on Zoom. If you've not seen it, it's absolutely brilliant. Check it out. But anyway, he got in touch. Well, he actually put it on our WhatsApp group with all fellow filmmakers, and saying that there's a new fund. Decentralized Pictures have set up a horror fund. It's a horror filmmaking initiative, and Decentralized has partnered with horror legends including Jed Shepard, but also with Roman Coppola and Eduardo Sanchez. Oh yeah, if you don't know who they are, then maybe this isn't for you. Look them up. Incredible, insightful, inspirational filmmakers, all of them. This is for short films. This is for short horrors. They're a proof of concept they're going to make, and then they're going to turn them into feature films. That's the idea. That is the idea. Certainly they'll set up meetings to help you do that. That's the plan. The recipients of this award, and it is an award, get £25,000 to produce a short film from their selected screenplay. And a community of 15 to 20 people, and the finalists will decide who it is. People have already started submitting, and they look ace. So have a look at decentralized.pictures. It's an app. Links to that will be in the show notes. But it started. The submissions end on February the 28th. £25,000 for your short film. I would get on that right now. This is excellent. Anyway, that's it. Decentralized Pictures, teaming up with horror legends. Hey, you're always looking for money to make your films, right? There you go. Perfect opportunity. Get in there now. Filmmakers Podcast sent you. Okay, crazy busy week. Lots going on. Scripts submitted from my end, but it can get difficult. You can get that down period after you've sent stuff. You can just get a little bit... And I had to say to myself, it's all right. pick yourself up, be positive. I do it on the podcast all the time. I try and pick you guys up, make it positive as much as possible, but I get sad too. I go through those periods of, why aren't I making a movie? Why is this not happening right now? Why has it gone slow? It just happens. Don't expect anyone to do anything for you and keep pushing. That's what I'm telling myself this week. So yes, don't get down. Just believe in your projects. Just keep pushing. Keep knocking on the doors. Okay, let's get to it. This is excellent. You're going to love this. We dive deep. This is indie filmmaking at its core, making movies for literally 13 grand, 1-3, and it getting on Shudder as your calling card. You're going to love this. This is myself, Giles Alderson, talking to the excellent director and writer, Marc Coleman. How are you, mate? You all right?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
I am very excited to be here. I've been listening for many years, so it feels like a nice milestone to finally talk to you guys.
That's really nice. It's lovely to sort of have people who've listened to the podcast come on and talk about it. It's just so nice. It's just like, okay, that's kind of cool. It's worth it. Man. You know, sometimes when you just, it's late at night and you're editing it and putting it up and you just go, is this worth it? And then you go, yeah, because you get people like yourself and other people sort of going, no, this means something and I've learned something. So that's always nice. It's always nice to have that.
Yeah, because I've listened, I've gone through the process and now I'm broken as well. So we're all in the same boat.
We're all in the same boat. And once you get through that bit, you're broken. You're like, well, if you want to carry on at that point, that's when you know you're a filmmaker.
That's when you know.
When you've been broken and burnt and all sorts of stuff has gone on and you've tried to learn.
My wife and kids have left me.
Yeah, and your wife and kids have left you. You've got no house. Yeah.
In this box.
You're in a box and you still want to make movies.
Well,
that's when you're a filmmaker.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Of course you do. Marc Coleman, thank you. This is really nice to actually finally speak properly, because obviously we have been chatting for quite a while on emails and saying, hey, we should get you on for your first feature, ManFish, and then obviously now Members Club's out. We were like, right, we have to do this. We have to talk. And I think it's a really lovely story. I think it's really interesting as well for our listeners to hear. What you went through, what you're going through, what the challenges were and what you overcame, I think is always really nice.
Yeah,
really nice. So let's take you right back. Why not? Like you, the first sort of I heard of you really as a filmmaker is when you won the Empire Award.
Oh yeah.
Back in the sort of early, the tens. The
2016 that was. Yeah.
Right. Tell us about that. Was that your first short film that you started to make, or had you made stuff before that? How did you get into it?
No, that was a bit of a game changer for me, because I've been making shorts for a good few years before that, because I originally trained as an actor, as a comedy actor. Mainly, I've kind of always worked in comedy, so that was been my thing.
You were in quite a few of the early shorts. You were certainly in that Empire Award short, which was called, I've forgotten off the top of my head. It was based on To Me, To You characters, wasn't it? Legend. That's right. Division. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. The competition was done in 60 seconds, and you had to recreate any film you wanted to in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So me and a few friends recreated the Tom Hardy craze film Legend. Where he was, playing both brothers on screen, split screen. But it was me playing both brothers, but those brothers were the Chuckles Brothers, not the Cray brothers. It was very weird. But we entered it and we got down to like, I think it was like hundreds and hundreds of entries that I remember the guys telling me they had. And we got down to like the final 10, and then we got down to the final 5, and then we got invited to the Empire Awards to screen the film and sit around the table with the other filmmakers from around the world. And it was a year of like one of the Star Wars films. So the Star Wars cast were in the audience, and Matt Damon was there doing a film. There was just there was a ton of like bigwigs, and there was just me and my mate who had just made this fucking tiny film for like 20 quid. Me, with a weird nose on, playing both Chuckles Brothers. And it won, and the judges got up on stage, they read it out, and then we won, which was crazy. And then they screened it in front of everyone, which was absolutely nuts. And then I had to get up and do a speech and all of this just after oh God, I can't remember who was before me now, but it was very, very surreal. But up until that point, I'd been making various little bits and bobs because I found that as an actor, you're kind of left to the will of directors or casting directors and people to employ you. So very early on, I realized that I wasn't going to get the jobs that I wanted to make. So me and a few friends, we taught ourselves how to shoot, how to edit, how to direct, and how to write, and all of that.
Because that's amazing, and it's so important. Like, you know, I certainly did. I had amazing people around me to do this. But when people say it, and that's why I'm jumping in here, is kind of like, we taught ourselves. How?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what was that first bit? Was it YouTube around then? I suppose it was, but was it also just you going out with a camera and sticking it in the edit machine and learning that way? How do you mean by, you know, learn yourselves?
Yeah, it was exactly that. I mean, I'd ever since like early teens, I'd been mucking around with stuff on like early smartphones and old cameras and stuff. So I'd always been like shooting sketches and things. So I had a bit of an idea. So when it came to like, well, why don't we just do this ourselves? I had a bit of an idea of how to use cameras and stuff, but it was real basic stuff. You know, we were buying cheap microphones and we were sellotaping them to boom poles. And
you mean to brushes?
Yeah,
actual
exactly.
Boom poles.
No. Sorry. Yeah, they were makeshift boom poles.
Yeah,
but they were exactly. They were just like sticks.
Sticks. Yeah, I had an old broom, but long broom handle, and we taped a mic to the end of it. Yeah, done all that.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean, you look like an idiot.
Yeah, you look like an idiot, but it kind of works as long as the mic cable doesn't rattle against the piece of wood or whatever it is. That's when you get that tick 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 noise. You've got to wrap it tightly.
Yeah. So we were doing all that, and we were just shooting kind of mockumentaries, and this is kind of me and some old friends kind of just sort of doing it really. And we were making sketches, and then the idea being is that we would put those onto YouTube, and then we would also kind of send them to directors, send them to casting directors in the hope that we may get some work out of it. And I mean, occasionally we did, but weirdly, the majority of my kind of acting career, so I was acting from sort of 18 to 30 really, was mainly stage. I was doing lots of kind of comedy, improv, sketch, you know, lots and lots of stage stuff. I worked for Secret Cinema for years for those guys. So it wasn't a huge amount of like film and TV, to be honest, other than the stuff that we shot ourselves, which was all sketches and shorts.
And did you love it at that point? Did you love it more than theatre? Is that, were you kind of like, look, this is what I want to do, or was there still, you still loved what you were doing, but this was another side of it?
Yeah, I've just loved always just being an absolute idiot. So any chance that I can get to like be a moron and be a dickhead on screen,
it's very rare, or even in live, and it's very rare we get a chance to do it. You know, sometimes when there's kids around, 3 to 6-year-olds, we can then be that dickhead again, you know, in a very safe, sensible way. But you get to be a child, you get to be kind of fun and silly, and it's really hard to do it as a, you know, a regular normal person, because we all kind of want, it's just that inner child in us, or the inner, come on, let's go just be silly, let's go do something fun, and it kind of gets taken away from us a lot of the time. And actually, film is one place where you can do that. You can go, do you know what, I'm going to play this silly character, over the top silliness, just because you can and you want to, and it's a great place to learn. Great,
it is. Yeah, and that's kind of all we did really. We did silly characters and silly voices, and it was all a combination.
Who did you play in The Man with the 10-Foot Testicles? Because that is one of your short films.
That is The Man. Yeah, so that was a parody of there was that spate of kind of Channel 4 programs like around the kind of 2008 to, you know, well, I mean, sometimes they still do them now. Where
did this get on Channel 4, The Man with the 10-Foot Testicles?
No, it didn't get on Channel 4. we made it look like it got on Channel 4. That was the key. But our whole thing was just like, let's just parody anything and let's just make it look like, and it was that birth of kind of that thing of YouTube where if you kind of looked like something. So we shot this really, really bad, like Britain's Got Talent sketch where we kind of spliced it with Simon Cowell making comments and all of that. And it got, you know, hundreds of thousands of views because people thought it was real. And that was the same with the Man with the 10-Foot Testicles. And another kind of
people
job,
thought it was real.
Yeah, because people thought it was real. And another job that I've kind of moonlighted as for years, which I still take with me today, is I worked as a prop maker for quite a few years in again, mainly in stage and occasionally short films. So I made these these 10-foot testicles out of latex, and we were dragging them around everywhere in the film, and I made a little shopping trolley for them, and it was it was just very very kind of sort of Vic and Bob, all that kind of surreal comedy that I kind of grew up on was very inspired by lots of that stuff, and and then that all kind of led up towards to the Empire thing. Really, I think I was on my way to 30, I think, when the Empire stuff happened in 2016. Yeah. And so I was on the back of like, I've been doing this for years. I'm kind of, I'd been like getting adverts here and there, but I was really enjoying the stuff kind of that I was just doing on the side, making things. So then when I won the Empire Award, that was a real kind of, I just hit 30. I'd won the Empire Award, so that was a real eye-opener for me. It's like, oh, do you know what I should do? I should take this a bit more seriously, and instead of it being a thing of, I'm just going to make some long testicles on the side of my real job, I should actually properly focus on being a filmmaker and sort of retire as an actor and just focus solely on going behind the camera and trying to make people laugh that way.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's not too dissimilar from me, except I wasn't
that's right,
taking around 10-foot testicles in a shopping trolley, but I wish
that's
I had.
A shame. That's
I know
it
shame.
Is,
because, who knows where I could be.
It's not too late.
It is. It's true. You can find me around the local Morrisons on a Friday night with my testicles.
It's a bit harder now because everyone's got a smartphone. So I think even then, they had smartphones. It's not that long ago, but
no, I know what you mean. Yeah, and you have to pay £1 for those trolleys as well. So that also is,
nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things stopping us, Mark. There's so many things stopping.
I know, society.
Yeah, so you went from that Empire War, which must have been such a fantastic night. I do remember the short, and I remember people talking about it just because it's the Chuckles Brothers who are amazing, and the fact that how you did it's just really fun. From that, did you think that would open doors? Did it open doors? When you win a really sort of prestigious award like that, what happened next?
Not a huge amount, to be honest, is the full truth. I got flown out to LA, and we had like another awards thing in LA, which was combined with another project that it was like a combination of Empire and Jameson's. They was the sponsor. So they flew us out to LA, and I was out there for a few weeks, and I don't think I really managed to get any meetings or anything like that, because ultimately, as it was a big milestone, but I was just a guy who won a competition. So at the end of the day, I
suppose in America, no one knows who the Chuckles Brothers are as well, right? So
exactly.
They were like, why is this funny? Oh, yeah, Brits.
The biggest thing that happened out of that was that I got an email from Barry Chuckles saying that he really enjoyed it.
That is amazing.
Because I managed to get his email somehow I think I stalked him and found his email online, and then sort of emailed him. Was like, hey Barry, look, I made this film, and I think I screenshotted it, and he just come back and he was like, oh yeah, it was really good. And I was like, wow. Now I know. I'm
now
30.
You've made it. Yeah.
Here comes my career.
Yeah. Put those testicles away. Put them away. New dawn is breaking. So, okay. So nothing massive opened up. So how did you then continue? How did you push yourself and those around you to go, hey, come on, look, that did really well. What should we do to keep this going, to keep,
Yeah, I mean, I've never really been one for sitting around, to be honest. So even though it didn't necessarily open up any big doors in terms of monetary doors or I'd get any meetings out of it, for me, it was like, oh, I've made a whole bunch of people laugh in a room at the Empire Awards. And the reason that we won was not because it had good cinematography or it had good visual effects or anything like that. It was solely based on the story and the silliness and the weirdness of it. So that was a big kicker for me. It was like, oh, great, I should just carry on doing this, but as I said, a bit more, maybe with a bit more of a budget or just a bit more professional. So I think I jumped straight in, and I think later that year I shot my first, and again, I'd made lots of mini short films up until that point, but then I made my first kind of real short that had some money behind it, which was a film called The Fly Tipper, which was a short, kind of a short comedy horror about a rubbish machine that, a fly tipped rubbish that comes to life as this big machine and kills people in really ridiculous ways who fly tip. So yeah, I made that, I think later that year, I want to say, and then we completed that the year after. And then that kind of did the festival rounds and it got a bit of exposure. It got picked up by Troma, who were a big, the New York schlocky guys who have been making films for God knows how many years. And I think it got released on DVD as part of an anthology. So it did all right. And I was really pleased with that film. And then off of the back of that, I think I wrote a treatment for a feature for it. And and then...
Were you thinking then at that point that you wanted to make features? I mean, it's a kind of a silly question because I feel like everyone sort of goes, well, yes, of course, but you don't know how. Or were you actually going, no, I'm happy making shorts, and that one of these shorts will do really well, and we're writing scripts based on these shorts anyway, and we're hoping that something comes?
No, I think it's kind of all born out of naivety, I think, because I'm always trying to run before I can walk. So I kind of made a short, and I think I had a few other ideas for shorts. So now I was like, right, I'm going to do a feature. So I wrote the treatment for the feature, and then I can't remember what happened, but I didn't really like it. Then I came up with another idea for a feature, which I still hopefully will make one day. So I wrote the entire feature, I co-wrote it, and
for the fly tipper. Yeah.
No, this was for a different film. This is for a straight up comedy. Okay. It was based on a sport in Finland called hobby horsing, and I did end up making a short of it in 2020.
We did, and we got in touch. I remember.
That's right. That is right. Yeah. So I made we wrote an entire feature film for it, and then what I planned to do is then I started to email that feature film around to sort of production companies, sort of naively, and was like, "Here's my film."
Script. Yeah,
the script. Yeah,
with the short.
Here's my feature film. No, I don't even think... to tell a lie, I hadn't made the short by then, but what I had made was I'd made a little teaser reel. I'd shot loads of posters. Again, this was all me on the poster because I didn't have anyone else in mind to do it yet. So it was all and this was off the back of me kind of not really acting anymore, but still I just need some artwork. So I'll jump in and be the guy holding the hobby horser and stuff and get it done. So then I built a pitch document, and then we started to send the deck around, and then in the hope that people would give me money and go, wow, this idea is golden. Let's make it tomorrow.
Sure.
And then obviously what happened was everyone was like, who's this guy? And ultimately the answer that I got from everyone was that you haven't made a feature film before, so why should we give you money to make a feature film? Which in hindsight is probably quite fair, to be honest, because I really would have fucked it. I mean,
why do you think that? Why do you think it's interesting?
Yeah, I mean, because again, it was all just naivety. I guess if I got on board with a producer and stuff, then maybe it would have been okay. But I do get it now after sort of making two features. I kind of get, all right, yeah, maybe I was a bit naive to think that. But again, it was more just about I'm just going to do it, and then I'll just make it work somehow. And then obviously I didn't really, and I shopped it around for a while, kind of got the same answer and over again. We sent it off to a few kind of script writing competitions, and it got some quite good feedback. And then it just kind of went into a draw, really. And then lockdown hit, I think. Yeah, it did. Yeah. And then so I was in the process. By this point, I'd made an entire short of the hobby horser. So I'd then reverse engineered it, and I had a feature script that I then tried to turn into a 10-minute short, which was fine, was okay. I'm still quite pleased with it. I still haven't released it yet, but I was okay. I was pleased with it. All the actors were great. The actors were friends, and again, it was another good opportunity to just sort of test your skills and make another short and see if you can do it and see if you can direct and all of that stuff.
I think that's what's the most important thing about shorts that I think people forget a lot of the time is you don't have to make it for anyone else. You don't have to make it and win awards. You don't have to make it and go, right, this is the one that's going to get me my feature film made off the back of this, or we're turning this into a feature. You have to make them to learn. Practice, get better, make this for you, learn how to edit during that whole process, learn how to hold a boom, learn how to work with actors, because it's one of the hardest things and thing that directors do the least of, because we only do it when we're on set. And that is a very small, if you look at all the work we've done over the time, you go, oh, that's not as much as I would like it to be, actually. So therefore, it's like, make a short and practice. Get good. You don't need to show anyone. And you can just show the actors who worked on it, the people who worked on it, but you don't need to put it out. And I think once you get over that and you go, right, this doesn't have to win a BAFTA, that's when you start really going, right now, and this is when I can learn and get better and practice, which is so important.
Yeah. 100%, yeah, and I fully agree with that as well. And I've been teaching for many years as well. When I used to teach drama years and years ago, but I've been teaching film for probably 10 years, and that's that's something I always try and tell students and stuff as well, is exactly that. You can just make stuff for yourself and make stuff for your friends. And even to this day, after all the stuff that I've made and continue to make, I'm still really just making it for my mates and making it for me and making it for those people to laugh, which is
important.
That's the important thing. Yeah. I got a text, we're jumping forward a bit here, but I got a text from an old school friend who I hadn't seen for about 12 years, who was a mate in school. Haven't seen him for, he's moved away now. And he texted me the other day to say he'd watched the latest film and that you really enjoyed it. And I really love that because, he was another friend in school. We had very similar sense of humor. We were into the same things. We were both into Bottom and The League of Gentlemen and all of that. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he really liked the film, but he had gone out and watched it, but hadn't seen him for years, kind of that really meant something to me. Because I was like, that's it. Because you've got the same sense of humor as me. I'm gonna continue that thread that I have. So I'm really pleased that that you liked it.
That's lovely. Yeah, that is really nice. And it does make a difference when someone just does that and they watch it without you prompting or saying, hey, you're pushing on your socials, etc. But someone just messages you, and you didn't think they were going to watch it or you hadn't spoken for a while and just says, I really enjoyed that and I appreciate what you were trying.
I thought he was dead.
Serious?
And the fact that he
wow.
I know.
Wow. Well, look, just to ghost over this for a second. You thought when you were with the hobby horser, looking back now, you mentioned there about, hey, if that was sent to me, I probably would have gone, all right, I'm not going to let this person who's made a short make a feature yet because they haven't made a feature. What do you think it was now looking back that you could have done differently? Did you do a deck in terms of financial plan? Had you really thought about how much money this could make and who would be in it? Talk us through that now looking back, and what might you do differently?
For sure. I was very naive because it was all me as well, pretty much, like, as in, and I don't mean that as an ego thing. It was more just about, like, I didn't necessarily have a producer working with me. Again, it was all just like, well, no one's around, so I'll just learn how to do it and I'll just do it all myself, And then that thing of people receiving the email being like, who is this guy? He's the director and he's the writer and he's also made some props and he's on the poster. I mean, what?
Yeah,
who is it?
Producing it. Well, he's doing everything.
He's producing it. He hasn't got a budget or anything like that. I wouldn't have even known how to do a budget or where the money should have gone or anything like that. So again, it was all just naivety, really. Me just going, "Oh, come on, do you want to make it or what? Because I'm ready. Are you ready?" Mm-hmm. And them not going for it. And of course they didn't go for it. And maybe if I'd spent a few more years kind of shopping it around and obviously got a producer on board and knowing the stuff that I know now, which is, trying to touch some cast or trying to get some soft money from someone, whatever it may be, then maybe we would have got somewhere. But it does seem like after all the research that I did in lockdown in 2020, before I went and made my debut feature, it does seem that the general rule of thumb is that it's very hard to just get that first feature sometimes by a big production company, unless you've maybe made something for a big funding body like the BFI or someone like that. Someone that's more trusted, that you've made a short and you've won some of those big awards, then they'll go, oh yeah, you can have a feature. But those are like, it's like 2% of
very few and far
filmmakers,
between.
If that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've got to kind of, it's a really weird balance. Yeah. And it's very tricky because I remember when I was trying to get my first films made, I just didn't understand why people weren't giving me the time of day. Or they sort of were. They were dipping their toe in and then running away about 1,000,000 miles an hour as fast as they could. And I didn't understand it. I was like, but I've got a great product. I know I can make this brilliantly. Yeah, maybe I could have, but I probably would have fucked it up like you're saying that you might have done with yours. It's just because it was that naivety can sometimes get you through. And maybe that's what got our first feature films made, was the fact that we were going, well, no, of course I can do this. Of course. But that doesn't mean we were right. And never expect anyone to do anything for you. I think a lot of first time filmmakers, because I was like, why aren't they doing it? I don't understand why they're not trying harder for my film. Well, why should they? They've got 10 films on the slate that they've worked for the past however many years on, trying to get those going. Why'd they drop everything and do yours when you've got nothing but an idea, maybe a decent script? But that's still not enough for most producers to drop everything.
It's not, I'm afraid.
Raise money for yours. It's just, that's the truth of the matter on indie filmmaking. So on that then, ManFish, your debut movie, you were at a point where you were struggling in a way to get your feature films made. You were taking the hobby horse around and no one was taking you seriously, or certainly couldn't get through the doors to open them enough to anyone to give you money. How did you then go, right, I'm going to make my debut movie by hook or by crook? What did you do, and why ManFish?
Well, as I said to you off air, I'd been listening to you guys for quite a few years, and I was really, really inspired by Diane and Paul Knight's episode many years ago, which would have been like 2019, 2020.
It was, yeah.
When they were really, really kind of, that was one that I think that was a real big change, sort of game changer episode for me, because they talked about, they put the numbers on the table. So it was like, here we go, we made this film for 10 grand. Here's where we spent the money. Here's what we didn't do with the money and stuff. So then I'd been kind of writing down all the tips and tricks for years, and then that one kind of really hit, and I was like, oh, well, I should just do that, right? I should just find some money, and I should reverse engineer it, write a script. I should do all of the things that I've been teaching my students to do for many years when I've been teaching, which is, write a film that is 2 or 3 characters in one location and shoot it over so many days and stuff. And it's that, but on a larger scale because it's a feature. And then I kind of did exactly that, really. I had a book of log lines that I'd been writing for a few years. I sort of chose one of them that I thought would work for a kind of low budget, micro budget feature. And then I think I wrote it during lockdown, which would have been sort of 2020 when we had all that time. And then we got it into production. Oh no, then in September of 2020, I found out that my wife was pregnant with my child.
Amazing. Congratulations. But with your child. Congratulations, by the way. But also, hey, I was about to go make a film. So,
yeah. So it just, and it was a kind of, it was a good marker for me, because I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to have to do it before the baby comes. And the baby was due in May 2021. Yeah. So then, then it was like, well, it's got a time limit on now. We have to get the shoot done by May. And then we did, and then we got it off the ground. I think we shot it over the course of about 12, 13 days in March, 2021.
Right. Let's just jump back a little there, because you just said it suddenly just happened. Yeah. That's
fast.
Great.
Yeah.
That's super. So from that moment when you said, right, you know how much it's going to be.
Yeah.
Obviously that price probably went up by the end of when you actually, today.
Yes.
What was if you don't mind, what was your original cost you thought this would be? And how did you go about getting that money?
Well, I tried to just do what Paul and Diane did, really, which was like, well, they had 10K to make a film, so I'll find 10K. I'd kind of had savings that I'd been saving up for years. I'd recently changed kind of job. I'd moved into video production in sort of 2016, 2017. And up until that point, I was a jobbing actor working in pubs and bars and stuff. So my income had kind of gone up a bit. Yeah. My income had gone a bit. I was saving up for a mortgage. And then I said to my wife, Cherie, listen, that money for a mortgage. I've written this really good script about this guy who falls in love with a fish. And she's like, right. I was like, I've got to do it now. Yeah. Because
you're mentioning mortgage and man who turns into a fish.
It's about fish.
I'm really confused.
There's a ManFish in it, Cherie.
Yeah, Cherie, come on now. This. Why do we need? We don't need a house.
Yeah. So she left, and then no, she didn't leave. Yeah. And then thankfully she was very supportive. So I had 10K to play with. So this was like bits of money that I had saved up over the years. And then I think I had a big paycheck coming from a job. So I was just like, fuck it. If I don't do it now, nobody's gonna give me money to make a film unless I actually make a film and then show people that I can actually make a film. So I was like, this will go towards my career. I just have to pray that I'll sort of somehow make it back one day via the means of somebody paying me to make a film. So it was always a write-off. It was never there to I just had to hope that I could spend the money, make the film, and then the hope was just to try and get it distributed. So at least we got it out there so we could show people. And so that was the money.
Yeah, and that's so important, because when people come to me, if they've not made a film, it does make a difference. And I know but it shouldn't be, but it sometimes is, because you're going, there's so much you learn as a director and a filmmaker when you make a film. There's so much. You go through all sorts of, I didn't need that shot. This is what's happened in the edit. This is what happens in post and distribution. If you haven't done that, I've got to kind of teach, or the producer's got to teach a little bit. And as much as that's not a problem, there's so much to learn and knowledge, and you just, the questions can just be, well, why not? It's going to make loads of money. So why can't we spend more money on this? Or why can't? No, that's not how a movie gets sold. This is, let's talk about the realities. And sometimes it can be a problem. So I, as a producer, I know so many others do, if you've made a movie beforehand, as a director, as a filmmaker, producer, whatever, it doesn't matter the quality of it. You've been through the trenches and you've put that movie out, whether it's on Amazon or it's just on YouTube, whatever. We know you've been through that whole journey, and therefore it's much easier to go, okay, cool. I don't have to teach this. Okay. You can just be like, right, you understand this is what we can give. Huge difference. It really is. So kudos to you for doing it and making the film. Let's talk about making it then. So you've now gone, right, I've got 10K ish and a bit of change. How did you go about going, right, did you do it kind of similarly how you made your shorts? Did you do it, okay, we'll do it over a certain period of time? Talk us through your process there, because if someone has not made it, you go, it can be daunting. Frightening.
Yeah. The key thread that runs through ManFish is that the majority of the crew and the majority of the cast, I think, nobody had made a feature. So, which was perfect, which was great, because then what that meant was that everyone was invested in it as particularly for heads of department and for the actors, because it was only really a free hander. It was a great piece for people to put their stamp on. So I got a good friend of mine, Dan Emmons, he's also been my DOP for years and was my DOP on ManFish. He invited on a friend of his called Gav, who was the producer of ManFish and as the producer of the recent film as well. So I was able to give Gav and say, look, here's the money. He had been producing commercials and shorts and stuff for years, hadn't done a feature yet. So I was like, here's 10K. Don't leave the country. Let's put it into this film. Here's the scripts and stuff. And he really championed it. He got behind the script, gave me notes, really liked it, and kind of had the same head as me. He was like, all right, well, if that's the money I've got, that's the money I've got. Let's kind of put the money into right places. And we did the thing of, nobody got paid. So first and foremost is because, that money is not going to go very far. As you can kind of give people tokens of money, but then ultimately once you start doing that, then you're like, well, what's the ratio? Are you going to do it per day? Because if you're going to do it per day, the editor's going to work on it for 3 months, and then your budget's going to, so it kind of had to be, it couldn't have to be like someone's going to get paid. It had to be like everyone across the board. So we're all in this together. We're all on the same boat. Nobody's getting paid. I'm down 10 grand. I've got no mortgage now,
Yeah, exactly.
My wife's this close to leaving.
This close. If she wasn't pregnant, she...
with my child. Yeah.
Yeah, with your child.
So if anyone's got skin in the game, it's I've got a lot of skin. So Gav did a brilliant job, and to tell you where the money went, I don't exactly know. I want to say about 4 grand went on kit, maybe, and we're talking. Wow. So bearing in mind we shot over 13 days over the course of about 3 weeks, I think. So we kind of we didn't sort of do it all off the cuff, so we would burn everyone out, and then we just pulled in every single favor we could, like every favor under the sun, to try and get beg, borrow and steal. We got the majority of the locations for free because it was lockdown, and so the majority of the budget went on equipment. It went on feeding people, making sure people were comfortable. We paid people's travel, and then over time in post-production, the budget went up slightly. I don't know what the final figure was. I want to say the final figure was probably around 3 grand. It was about 14K, I think, in the end, because money went to film festivals. It went to deliverables and all of that kind of stuff.
Because that's where a lot of people don't realize why you need budget is the post and deliverables. It's just costs, these things just do cost money to get a QC of it, or if it needs to be registered with the Writers Guild of America. And some distributors need all that, or it needs to be, you need subtitles or SRTs in French, or they cost money. You know, you've got to do the English ones first and then translate them. And people just don't realize that it costs. You know, they go, oh, well, there's my movie. And then, well, we can't dispute that unless you give me all these things that a lot of them are just useless things that they don't really need anymore, but still they ask for them and therefore they cost money. And it's just very important to be aware of that. Most filmmakers don't. And actually, I don't mind that. I don't mind if you go, look, I'm making it for 10 grand. All right, look, these things cost a bit more. All right, it ends up being 13. By that point, you're in it, right? I'm surprised. I thought it'd be more than that, you know, and that's really good that you only, you know, 3 or 4K after that point. Most people sort of, it balloons a little bit in a good way to being like 20, 30 because you go, actually, I'd rather spend a bit more, but brilliant for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that was it really. It was just making sure, and looking back, I think we put the money in the best places we could. It was difficult, you know, like, insurance, you know, that kind of thing, you know, there was lots of guerrilla stuff that we did and shooting, you know, without permits. But the sort of the golden rule from the start for me and Gav was like, we want to be able to distribute it. So we want to be able to like give it to someone at least. So we need to at least be able, there's a few things, you know, you need to do. You're going to make sure that no one's going to come back and sue you because you've used their, you know, you've used their property or whatever it may be. Yeah. So the great thing about having Gav there was that he could kind of look after all that stuff and I could just look after the kind of artistic stuff really. And I was still, you know, I was predominantly directing, but I was still producing and I was still prop making and I was still sandwich making and holding various, you know, putting up C-stands and packing equipment, you know, as you always do. It was a crew of like 5 people, I think, but on an average day. And the cast were, as I said, it was a free-hander with the ManFish, and then there was kind of odd characters that would come in on certain other days, day players that would come in. So
you shot 12 days consecutively, is that correct? Or did you have a bit of a break?
Yeah, we had breaks here and there. I think we did like 5 days on, then we took a few days off, then we did like another 4 days on, and it was sort of 75% shot in a house, and then the other 25% were on locations which were like on a beach or in a pub or down an alleyway or a night shoot and all of that, so that we could kind of then sprinkle throughout the film so it doesn't feel like that you're trapped in this one location for the entirety of the film. And I think I pulled it off. Like looking back, I think we did quite well with that stuff, you know.
Now you've made your second film, Members Club. Looking back at it, what did you feel that you did right as a director / producer / prop maker? What were the bits? Because it can be so overwhelming and so difficult. And it's just, especially when things go wrong, which we might come to in a second. But what was it, the things that you felt looking back now, you went, oh yeah, I did all right there? Maybe it's preparation, or maybe it's thinking about the edit during it, because obviously you've sat in edits before now, which is really important as well.
Yeah, I think it was knowing. I think it was always knowing what I wanted. I always knew what I wanted from the start. In the writing process, anytime I'm writing, by the time I've usually done the first draft, I know exactly how the entire film should be shot. Like I've visualized the entire film. I know how it should be shot. So then I can easily communicate that to other members of the department. So I kind of always knew what I wanted. Something that I've always taken with me from years of being an actor as well is that I always do rehearsals. So that was a big lifesaver for me. So we did like 2-3 days worth of rehearsals, and I always hear the push and pull of like, you shouldn't rehearse comedy. It should be live. It should be in the moment. But you know, when you're making a film for 10K and you're moving at lightning speed, because we were doing ridiculous amounts of pages a day. We were doing like 10-12 pages a day sometimes, you know, of just like dialogue. You have to be able to, the actors and who were brilliant and were friends as well. You know, we had to be able to have the magic in the rehearsal room, and then because they were very good actors, they could then turn up on the day, relay that magic and go, great, that's exactly what you did in the rehearsal room. Let's tweak it. Or, oh, here's a funny gag, or an actor brings in an offer that's better than what you've written. So you do it, you play it. But ultimately, you know, you're doing 2-3 takes and then you're moving on.
Yeah, so therefore that rehearsal is vital. I'm really glad you said that, because there's nothing worse than on set and then suddenly this bit doesn't work, or then you discuss it for ages while you don't have time. Whereas you can do that in the rehearsal room. A bit doesn't work, right, rehearse it, let's tweak it, let's make it better, or let's think about it and come back on the day with something. But rehearsal's so important on low budget indies. You know, just do it, even if it's on Zoom, just do it. Practice.
It's my favorite place. Like, I absolutely love the rehearsal room. I did it on my latest feature as well. And yeah, it's just a great time. You invite, you know, you bring your DOP down, you discuss how you're going to shoot things. And, you know, as I said, I visualized the entire film. I know how I want it shot. But the great thing about collaborating and filmmaking is that you can get to work with people who are better than you and very good at their department, so then they will add their own sauce to the mix, and then you hopefully you're making very good stuff then. So
so true. What was the thing that potentially you didn't, looking back now, that you might have done wrong, or not wrong is the wrong word, or you just were too naive, or there's something that went wrong perhaps and you dealt with that, you overcame that big problem?
I remember weird little things, like I remember sound being like sound. I remember always just being very aware of people's time and trying to be the nice guy and be very friendly and stuff, which of course and I still do stay. But what I mean by that is, like, we would get sort of little pickup shots, we'd get close-ups, and I'd be, I'd tell the sound guy, Joe, I'd be like, Joe, have a break. We don't need you. We don't need any sound for this. And he'd be like, you sure? And I'm like, yeah. It's fine. We'll do it in post.
Oh, no.
Little things like that. And then I get into the edit, and Dan Allen, who's my editor and a good friend of mine for years, would kind of be like, well, we haven't got any sound here, so we're going to have to recreate it ourselves. So then me and Dan would recreate it ourselves in a garage or stuff like that. So little things like that, I think I was a bit naive about. And I've been an editor for years as well, so I probably should have known, but I was so conscious of everybody and what they were doing for this silly idea that I'd come up with, and that everyone was putting in their time for free, that I was always just trying to make people as comfortable as possible. Now, that didn't mean that on the next feature I was like, listen, Joe, you fucking idiot, go and get the sound and make sure it's as good as it can be. So little things like that, I remember looking back being like, oh, that was a mistake. I should obviously definitely not do that again. And, listen to the departments.
And listen to departments. I think you're so right. I think it's one of those things that we almost feel, not embarrassed, it's the wrong word, but overprotect. We're kind of like, oh my God, thank you so much for coming and helping. But they're there because they want to be. They're there for a reason, and they also want to do the best job. And Joe Keneally, right, who was your sound...
That's right, Joe. Yeah.
If he'd like heard you in the edit, he'd be mortified. He'd be like, oh my God, I should have got that. I should have been that. I should have... And it's not, because you said to go... So he was like, oh yeah, fine. Which is totally how it should be. However, now that... And I always say this, I'm like, I record every bit of sound, because there's nothing. Also, it's really difficult in the edit when you get to a bit and then there's no sound. It just ruins it, jars the flow of everything. Suddenly you go, oh well, we're doing that later, and you're like,
it does. Yeah,
I don't think the edit works now, but it's because the sound isn't there. So I literally, if we're filming or they're turning over on the camera, I'm like, just turn over on sound. Just turn over on sound. It's there. It's part of it.
And it's such a simple thing, and I do it in my day job, and I do it, I've done it on every short. I think again, it was an element of like me maybe trying to people please, or it was just making sure that everyone was comfortable. And I remember being like 2 a.m. in my pants in a fucking travel lodge, with with little sandwich bags, making everybody like comedy lunches the next day, because we didn't, I was putting like Dairy Dunkers into these sandwich bags because we were meeting on the beach at like 7 a.m. and I wanted to make sure that people had a breakfast and stuff, so sort of going above and beyond to try and like just look after people and go that extra mile and try and get rid of that myth of just like directors being idiots and arseholes to people and stuff and all that, because there's no need for it, and we could still make a good film without anyone being a dickhead. And that's something that me and Gav have tried very hard to continue in all the films we make.
Yeah, you do, and I think it's lovely to hear that, and it's so important. And I remember one of my first thing. I remember we'd had like a custard pie fight or something, big food fight, load of kids, and instead of me thinking, right, I should now go and plan the next, go with the team and get the next shot, I'm picking up pie from the floor, thinking, I feel really bad for the, there's way more on the floor here now for the team to clean up. But it wasn't my there's a line when you go, look, at the end of the day, if they're still doing it, go and help, sure. But if you need to get your shots and you need to move forward, there's another angle too, where you have employed people to do this, or there's people here that's their job. Your job is to make sure you get the shots as well as helping. So it's that really fine balance, because I was the same as you. I was like, oh no, I can't let them do it. Oh no, but I brought the cakes. I did, and you're like, that's not a bad thing. And I think it's something that we should always have in us, to be thinking about that, because if nothing else, we can at least, we can set the shot and then go back and help, if you know what I mean. We can go, like, if we really want to do this.
It's a constant push and pull of time, right?
It is. And then I remember my hands were sticky for the rest of the day, and I didn't have time to go to the bathroom and wash them. So it was my detriment. It didn't work out well. Anyway, I think that's
licking custard pie off your fingers.
Basically.
Are you hungry, Giles? No, I'm fine.
No, I'm really fine.
I've eaten.
I'm really fine. So ManFish, and in terms of, the shooting well seemed to go well. Did you have to do any pickups or anything like that? Was it a case of you felt solid with it? Could you do bits and pieces were you shooting in your house, or was it?
No, we were shooting in a lady who was absolutely lovely.
In a lady?
We were shooting.
It's like in a space.
We were shooting in a lady's house that I found on Facebook. She was it was her childhood house that they were selling, and and it was her mum and dad's house. I think they had passed away, and her and her sister were selling it, but it hadn't been done up since like the 70s. So the decor was like, it was beautiful in there. It was perfect for what we needed, and it had real character. And so we gave her like a really minimal fee, and she came and let us film there. And I think we found out like a month before the shoot, she called us up and she was like, "Oh, the sales moved forward, so you're going to have to come and shoot in 2 weeks now." So then the whole shoot got pushed forward by 2 weeks, and thankfully we managed to accommodate, because again, it was lockdown. No one was really doing anything. The shoot itself went well. Like, COVID was always the bane of our lives. Like, we were testing every morning. Oh, again, that was where some of the money went as well. We had to pay for COVID tests because it was like it was like a month after we wrapped shooting was when they made COVID tests free. And I think me and Gav spent like £800 on COVID tests. It was something ridiculous because, again, we were like, well, look, we've got to look after people and we want to make sure people are safe. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we had to pay for COVID tests. Thankfully, everyone tested negative. No one got COVID. So it was all good. But overall, it went pretty well. It was pretty mad. There was I say it went well. Obviously, it was an absolute nightmare every single day. But actually, do you know what? That's part of the fun of it. And that's one of the reasons I make films, is because I love that chaos of
it's the chaos and challenge, right? Because you just don't know what's going to happen, what's going to go wrong, what's going to go right, and what's going to be amazing, and what you think's going to be amazing isn't, and what you think's going to be terrible is actually really good. And it's all those things that go through your head. And I say it's like a compromise scale when I'm making movies. I set off trying to make this, amazing high end. This is what we're aiming for, and then the bar just keeps getting lower, just because it just does. You end up shooting in a white walled room because that's the only room available, and you're like, how are we going to make this look good? And they're the kind of challenges that keep you on your toes as a filmmaker. I've shot in studios, I've shot in indie films with nothing, and then I've shot in big studios where you have everything. And sometimes when you have everything, that just that tiny bit of creative spark goes, well, I've got everything. Whereas if you don't have anything, you've got to create it from something.
You've got nothing. Exactly.
And so for me, it's almost a bit like 5-a-side. If it's 5v4, the 4 seems to always win, in my opinion, just because everyone works harder. You're tracking back more. You'll try and get the 5 always seems to just go, oh, someone else will do it.
Someone else has got it.
Someone else has got it. And that's a ridiculous analogy. But in terms of that wonderful feeling of making your first feature or second or third, whatever it is, when it's just everyone just mucking in and doing it, and you're up against it, you're losing light, you're losing sound, the rain's coming, everything's going wrong, the costume's falling apart, hasn't turned up, you just make it work. And at the end of the day, no one notices or cares. They just want to be entertained with a good story. They
just want to see, you're right. And that's exactly what we had. Yeah, it was ups and downs every day, but it was so much fun. Like, it was just, we had the best time doing it. We had the worst time doing it, but like, we just, we loved every minute of it. Ultimately, it didn't, the only day it went wrong is like, we had a scene where the ManFish had to sort of drift off into the sea, and his eyeballs fell out of the mask, and this was like 7 a.m. on Canvey Island beach, and I had to go into the sea in my pants and try and fish the eyes out while like a crew of like 6 people just watched me being like, what's wrong with you?
Were you still wearing the pants from when you were putting the sandwiches
the
in?
Same
literally
sandwich
the same
pants.
Didn't even wear clothes. Literally turned up in your pants.
Why is he back in his pants?
Peace for you.
He's in the sea fishing out his eyes.
Sea, fishing.
He's
fishing out.
And so we obviously lost the eyes, but thankfully the person who made the eyes, the mask maker Steve Braun, who I still work with today, who makes lots of brilliant prosthetics. He lived not that far away, and he happily was like, oh yeah, I'll make you a new pair of eyes. But it set us back a day, and what it meant was the guy who was playing ManFish, Matty Noble, was a brilliant actor. Yeah. He was also part-time working at Sainsbury's.
Of course he was.
Because it was the pandemic. And we was like, look, Matty, we need to come back tomorrow and do that pickup scene. He was like, I'm really sorry, I can't get off my shift at Sainsbury's. So I was like, all right, it's fine, man. So then I had to don the ManFish costume, and then me and Dan, because we didn't have the permit for that day, and his fiance had to go down to Canvey Island Beach and like secretly get the pickup shots of me like diving into the water as ManFish. And they made it into the edit. For all of that pain, it kind of it created a lovely story for film festivals when they talk about it, anything go wrong, and you say, well, there was this one time when I was in my pants.
Yeah,
and
again, one time,
you know,
every time.
he's always in his pants.
It's true. Those stories are just really nice, and at the time it can be daunting and galling, but it just brings everyone together. You know, you're a team, and you'll be friends for life. You'll see each other, and when you're 80, and you'll just reminisce, and it'll be beautiful. You can't take that magic away. You just can't.
You can't. No. And when my two daughters grow up, and we still don't have a mortgage, and I say, look, there's Daddy there.
They'll be like, "Why are you doing that?"
and I'll say, "No, come back. Don't leave.
No, come back. Why have you left already? Listen, I've got to tell you about the eyes."
They'll leave me as well. I'll be back to square one. I'll go make a film.
Yeah, make another film. So ManFish, now you in the edit, and you're thinking about distribution at this point, or because you said you wanted to get this out, and as all clever filmmakers these days, and this is what I try and teach everyone or say, is be thinking about it beforehand.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's your first film. You might not have. Most people don't, especially when you're going to 10 grand, let's go. You hadn't.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So not great, but great as in it's good for my story now, and it makes sense with what I was saying for this podcast. So then how did you go about it? You're in the middle of the edit and you start thinking, oh gosh, we've got to get this out there. Did you do it that way? Or did you go, hey, we're going to go in festivals first. I'm going to do that. What was yours and Gav's brain process at this point?
I don't think we really had one. Again, it all come down to naivety. So we shot it in March, I think it was March 2021, April 2021. And then we pretty much finished it by December 2021. Wow. And then we got invited to play what was the film called? It was called something like Cannibal Hookers. A film called Cannibal Hookers dropped out at a cult festival called Horror on Sea.
Yes,
in Southend. Yeah. I had a fly tipper. I played there years ago. It's a really lovely festival.
Yeah, it's great.
And the guys who run it are brilliant, and it's got a really lovely crowd. So I got a call late December from the organizer saying that Cannibal Hookers dropped out. Do you want to come and play the late night Friday night slot? Which I think ManFish would be great for because he had seen it. And I was like, sure, let's do it. Secretly, the film was kind of finished, but wasn't really finished. So then we had to sort of scramble to finish it. And then that ultimately became our kind of world UK premiere in January 2022. Yeah. And we played there. And then that kind of kicked off our sort of festival season, as it were. And it got a really good response. And it was, lots of the films that I make usually get at festivals get put in the kind of late night drunk tank slot because they're that type of comedy horror and quite silly. So yeah, we got a really good response from the off, really, and it was very nice. And then from there we managed to get into a few other festivals. We got into Sci-Fi London, I think, in the April. We won Best Feature at Sci-Fi London.
You won Best Feature, yeah.
We did Romford Horror, which was in the February. That was great. We sold out Romford Horror, and and it's great, as a filmmaker, you're getting to see this little tiny film that you made. You're getting to sit in a cinema as well, in a full scale cinema, watching this tiny low budget film that you've made. It was a great feeling. It was a really, really, really lovely feeling. So yeah, we did festivals, I think, right up until the September. So we did about 9 months of festivals.
And then how did you go about finding, Movie House came award, Mark Venice and Gary Phillips there. Did you just send it to them? Did they get in touch? What happened?
No, they got in touch, because they had been sent a screener because of Horror on Sea, actually. It was that they got sent a screener from our first original festival, and the organisers have said, you should check out this film. I think it's right up your street. And then, we had sort of negotiations with them over the course of a few months, and then they decided to take the film on, I think. I think me and Gav we tried to look around for other offers, but again, we kind of did that thing of like, oh, we'll just take it, and then we'll take the offer. And I kind of tried to do all of my research to look into it, and then, then they took the film ultimately. Yeah. So they became the sales agent for it.
Because it's certainly very daunting when you get a contract offer, as an agreement contract from a distributor, a sales agent, and you look at it and you go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Because there is so much in there, and there's so much filmmakers don't know about the business side of stuff. When you look at that, you just go, that looks really daunting. But it says we get 8% of money made, and it says, they're only taking this much. It can be really frightening, I think, to look at that and not know what to do, but think it's the right thing to do because you think your film's going to get out there. How did you manage that?
Well, I don't think we did. I don't think we did very well, to be honest. We kind of took the first deal, which I know you should never do, and I kind of, but we were very excited, and a movie house said that they could get they had a distributor who was going to distribute to UK and USA called Alarm Pictures, and Alarm thought that he could get it on. He was hoping that he was going to get it as a kind of Channel 4 exclusive or as a Sky exclusive and stuff. So we kind of saw the bright lights and we were like, great, let's do it. And we kind of signed the contracts. Again, Gav was used to contracts because Gav does, commercials and various bits of bobs. He produces lots of stuff, but it was his first real feature film. So I think he tried to look over them as best as he could. He sent them around to people. I kind of looked over them, but ultimately, we was kind of like, well, look, we've made this tiny film. Somebody wants to distribute it. They're going to buy it for more than what we made it for.
So you got an MG up front?
Yes, we
Minimum
did.
Guaranteed.
In theory, we got an MG, yes.
Yes,
yeah.
In theory, yeah. Okay. So
Which I can talk about.
Yeah, with a lot of sales and distributing companies, like basically if you sell a movie for more than you made it for, well, look, you've done really, really well.
Made a profit.
You've made a profit. And that's what's important about anything in this industry. Your first film made a profit. Great.
Yeah.
Whether that money eventually turns up there's lots of different things and reasons why that might not. And that is something for you to learn as business filmmakers. And that's the stuff that, again, is really hard as a director when you go, oh my God, I've suddenly got to produce. I've got to think about this. Or if you're a first time producer, it's a lot, but it is important. And it's not okay to, again, it's the learning thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not do that again. Let's think of what happened there. Right. That's what we didn't see in the contract, or that's what we looked over or glossed over, or, and a lot of these sales and distributors will tell you a good story. They will say, we want to get here, or we reckon we can get an Apple deal, or we can get this deal. And if you do, everyone gets money. And of course you're going to sign. But and sometimes they really mean well, sales and distributors, and other times they just want to stick it out and go, cool, well, we've made our cut. All the best.
We're off.
You've signed this deal, and that is it. At the end of the day, it's like going anywhere, signing a deal with a washing machine or whatever it is, or a house. You've signed it. You've looked at the contract and agreed to those terms. So as much as people say sales and distributors often look to rip off filmmakers, they don't. They just, it's business. It is.
Yes,
business.
Ultimately, it's their business at the end of the day, and I think that's what we kind of we saw the light of sort of shortly after, which was that we sold the film for more money than we made it for. We thought that we would get that money back, and then ultimately, it just got eaten up by sales agent fees and various other little tiny contract stuff that was in there that I kind of knew that was there, because again, I remember. In my head, I was like, yes, it would be great to make money, but ultimately, I just want to get it out there because I want to be seen, because I wrote this money off a year and a half ago. If I can make some profit, great. And we originally what we did, which was a really nice thing that me and Gav worked out, which was that if we did make money, everyone had a percentage. So the money went back to cast before. So I didn't need to make my money back. It just went straight back to cast and crew. So it meant that if we did get that money back straight from the distributor without the sales agent fees, we would have been able to have gone back to Dean Kilby, the lead actor, and gone, here you go, Dean, here's a percentage. We can actually finally pay you because we made some money. But unfortunately we couldn't do that. And, the actors, didn't, they knew they were that because that's the contracts they signed. Yeah. But they were never like, when's the money coming in? Cause,
exactly. And I think one of the most important things with those contracts is marketing spend and those costs. Just be aware. Look, put a cap on it. It doesn't need to be expensive these days. Distributor sales agents do not need to be going around, having a marquee. They do not need, so it's your negotiation. Everything's a negotiation. It's not fact what they send to you. It's a case of, like I say, a house or a car, or even if you're going to a flea market, you never take the offer that's on the table. Yeah. There's 50p for a Tonka toy. Oh, I'll give you 35p for it. Everyone does it, but yet we don't do it in filmmaking. We go, oh, right, well, that seems right. And you've just got to know what you're talking about a little bit and think about it.
Yeah, it's true. It's getting that good deal. I remember getting the marketing fees are such a big thing, aren't they? So I remember getting those down. I remember getting those down by a bit, but even, they were, and again, it's that classic business thing, right? You go in high. So they were always very high. So I managed to shave off a few grand off of those, but it's still, ultimately, still done us as well. And little things like, obviously, everything is done in dollars. So you see one figure, so you always forget that obviously the pound against the dollar, depending on how it's doing, is it's usually less. So it's so
and then tax on top of that as well,
and then tax on top of that.
And you obviously can claim the tax back, but that means you need to be doing your accounting. And when you're making a film for, like, say, 13, 14 grand, we don't really want to do all your tax and accounting every year because it costs you. So you end up going, oh my god, I'm paying out for. So it's a really, sometimes it's worth to just go, okay, cool, I've done this, I've made it, let me go on to the next one. Let me learn from this.
Exactly.
But this film did get on Shudder. And it has done really well for you in terms of, the success of ManFish. The fact that it has won awards, it has done really well, and it did get reputation, and it's one of these cool cult fun movies, and you've succeeded in that. You've made a really cool movie that people go, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and it's a tiny thing. It's such a tiny film and such a sort of tiny lightning in a bottle. And the fact that we got it out there and like you said, the distributor did get it onto Shudder and they got it onto Amazon and Sky and all those places. We did quite well in the US, and we ended up getting on, like, there was lots of like LGBTQ festivals that were like picking up the film because it's about a guy who falls in love with a fish. Like, it's just like, it was the strangest thing, like, when you kind of make this film, and it's really polarizing as well. Like, lots of the reviews were like, people were giving it 5 stars because they absolutely loved it, and then people were giving it 1 star. Like, there was no in between, and that was great. And people were just being really vocal about it, and we got a lot of love from the film. And I'm still really, aside to the money, and again, I like to talk about the money stuff because, as I said, it was always going to be a write-off from the start. It was always going to be a calling card. But aside to all the sort of bad money stuff that happened, I'm still pleased with that film, and it did ultimately get us the next film.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's perfect time to talk about the next film, Members Club, which is really fun, brilliant. It's another step in the hugely right direction that you're going as well. Just really well made, and a really cool movie. So talk us through, you mentioned there, and it sort of, ManFish got the next film made. How did that happen?
I think I'd started writing Members Club as soon as ManFish started got into festivals in sort of January 2022. I had started writing again, so I'd written this new feature. It took about 6-7 months to kind of get a good draft that I was able to show people. Again, Gav was on board, so our thinking was we kind of did pretty well with Members Club. With ManFish at festivals. It got quite a buzz around it, so we were like, let's do some sort of crowdfunder, and even if we can get 30 grand this time, we can try and we'll get us some investment from somewhere. Yeah. We'll just go and make Members Club, Yeah. And luckily, Gav was working with a company called Blackwater Pictures at the time. He was I think he was first ADing for him, or he was co-producing on a film that they had made, and they were looking for their next film. And again, it was just happened to be right place at the right time. Gav told him about us, told him about the film that we had made, and said, Marc has got a new script. Do you want to read it? And he's got a pitch deck for it. Should I get him in and we'll all have a big meeting about it? And I'd like to say there was a lot of back and forth and stuff for a while, but, Blackwater were just absolutely lovely and really got behind the film. And Members Club is probably not the sort of film that gets picked up straight away. Like, it's really weird. There's a lot of, gory body horror stuff in it. Very silly film. So I do feel like it is the kind of film that I could have shopped that around for years to production companies. They'd be like, so what? It's about what? And the guys do what in it? They're male strippers, but and there's a 16th century witch, and there's a talking cheese and pineapple hedgehog. Like, they were, from the off, Blackwater were like, we really like it. We're looking to make our next feature. So as long as Gav can make the money work, then we're happy to fund the film and back the film and get behind you. And you guys look after all the creative stuff, and then we will look after the kind of financial side of things. So it was right place, right time. Yeah. But it was also like, we never would have got that. If we didn't have ManFish, they wouldn't have given us, because we were just guys, right? We just made,
who's not made a movie before, and then suddenly now you go to them and go, well, we have made a movie and it's successful. I mean, I don't think it would have mattered if it hadn't been as successful as it was, because they liked you, they liked your project, and they've gone, well, they've been through the trenches, which is so important.
And it's again, and kudos to those guys again, which is that, it's I as I said, I mainly work in comedy. I've only really ever known comedy, and I've merged into comedy horror over the years simply because I was told from a really young age of filmmaking, which is that, nobody's going to buy a comedy unless it's got a kind of Ricky Gervais or an Adam Sandler in it, because it's too much of a gamble. There's too many different genres of comedy. It's like we can't gamble on a comedy. So that was kind of like, all right. So that was, ManFish was sold as a comedy horror, but if you've seen ManFish, it's ultimately a rom-com. And Members Club was similar. Members Club was much more horror. There's a lot of sort of gory horror in Members Club, but so I've always had to kind of merge genres to be able to make films in a way, which is always very strange. But yeah, they love the comedy behind it, and they really got behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and on that, Stephen Follows mentions this on the Horror Movie Report, which was 2 weeks ago, was it last week? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was great, man. That was a really good episode.
Oh, thanks, mate. And he says that, when everyone says, horror comedies, they don't make money, and this report proves the opposite, that not only do horrors make a lot of money, mainly because they're made for a lot less budgets, but also horror comedies.
Yeah, it drives me at the wall.
It's just fact. It's just, so when anyone tells you they don't, they go, no, it's fact, they do. Here's a horror movie report and facts about it. But if you haven't listened to that podcast on why horror movies are successful and lucrative sometimes, then do go listen to that episode.
Yeah. And even this year, the guys at Blackwater were taking Members Club to Cannes and stuff, and they were they were pitching the film and selling it and stuff. And they were told time and time again by sort of distributors and that, it's comedy horror. It's a real difficult. Yeah. It's really tricky. It's British comedy horror. It's a bit too British for me, and fucking, oh man, drives me
so annoying. And I think what we can do from now on is just give these facts of Stevens, because in his horror movie report book that you can buy, and it's very cheap, by the way, there's so many facts in there that you just lay out to the sales and distributors who are saying this kind of thing, and you go, well, no, here's 100 movies that prove you wrong with what you're saying right now, and therefore they'll just go, oh, well, what's the reason why you're not taking the movie? You can't be on this. So it's stuff like that you can have in your arsenal and have it in the deck beforehand. You don't want to call them out, because then those go, well, you're a dickhead, don't want to work with you. But it's the case of, you can actually go, well, actually,
put them in the pitch deck.
It says this. These films have made money, but also having that knowledge to speak it as well. And most deals I found in filmmaking happen when you're face to face with someone and you're having those conversations. Right. Picking up a deck, picking up a thing. Sometimes you go, oh, that looks cool. But as soon as someone pitches to you and tells you the idea, and if they come with facts, figures, and information, it really makes a huge difference. It's a no-brainer. I feel like all my films that I pretty much got made are on pitches. It's literally face to face having those conversations.
And again, that's kind of what happened with Blackwater, really. Like, we did the pitch deck, but ultimately me and Gav went into them. We went into their offices and we had a really lovely meeting with them. And I showed them on my laptop the pitch deck, and we talked through it. And by then Steve Braund, our mask maker, had started to already kind of make the witch mask and had designs for it. So already we had kind of sculpts and stuff we could show them before there was even any money on the table. So anything like that to kind of just get them excited. I'd made all the pitch deck myself. We'd done everything we could to kind of make it look as glitzy and glamorous as possible. And thankfully they went for it.
Yeah. What did you take with you from ManFish then into Members Club? What was the things that you would, did you have more time for one? Obviously you did rehearsals beforehand, I imagine. But what were the other things that you went, okay, I'll do that differently? Or things that you thought were going to go better that didn't?
I think one thing I was really keen on doing was that, and because we had Blackwater behind us, it meant that we had money and we were able to spend that money on cast and on crew and stuff. So, straight away it was a big crew. We had like 25 crew members a day as opposed to 5. And I always remember thinking, like, I mean, that's great, because that means lots of people are employed and they're coming to work on our film, and they're only going to bring their talents to it, and they're getting paid for their talents. So that's brilliant. But also, like, I was terrified of it growing too much, because I still wanted to be able to move at a good pace. Like, I love moving at an indie pace. Even having money on Members Club, I still wanted it to be able to move freely and flowly and stuff, and not be caught up too much on, like, we're waiting so long for X, Y, and Z, because you now have so many people that it just inflates the inflates the project. So I think I was keen from the start for us to still be able to move quite freely. And again, it was the same team, because the same team that I've been making films with for years, they're all friends. They're all brilliant at what they do. Yeah. So it meant that we could all kind of come up together. It was the same DOP, same production designer, same editor, lots of the same actors who I'd been working with for years who were just friends as well. So I was keen to kind of take all of that with us and be like, well, look, you know, it's only their second feature as well, but they know what they're doing because they're brilliant at their job. So let's let them be brilliant. But this time we can give them assistants and we can give them people and stuff. So it meant that they could hand over some of that work. So yeah, I think it was just taking that knowledge with me of just still being able to move freely and not being too caught up in the system, I suppose.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it's really lovely to hear that as well. It's just the more people say this, it's true. Keeping the same team, building up with them, that trust is there. And look, so there's always going to be a producer in your next film, the film actor will say, actually, we should get you this DOP from this film, or we should get you this editor from this film, or this composer. Yeah, maybe. But you know what? I'd really like to, you know, and that's when we can stand our own and say, well, this is why I want this person, or why. And sometimes it's good to change as well, because then you appreciate the ones you've got, or actually they might be holding you back. You never know with any of these people that you work with, and what works, what doesn't. And most DOPs work, again, way more than most directors, most composers work, most actors work way more. So again, it's like mixing it up or not. And it's great to work with the same team. I love it. You know, that shorthand is important.
It's really lovely. And there's not a better feeling in the industry for me, I think, than being able to call up those people and say, we're doing another project, but this time it's paid.
Wow.
And you're not going to have to eat Dairy Dunkers on the beach for lunch.
Exactly. In my pants.
I'm going to keep all of my clothes on.
For this one. Did I keep all my clothes? It's the only reason they were here. In terms of that you mentioned the bigger crew, how did you find that? You know, going from you're pretty much moving everything, you know, you're picking up stuff all the time, to actually going, I don't necessarily have to pick up custard pies from the floor type thing on my thing, or turn up in your pants. How was that for you, managing that at first?
It took a while to get used to. I remember the first few days of being like, oh my God, I don't know what that person's here is doing. And I also don't want to ask them what they're doing, because they're here to do a job. And they've
been here 5 days. What do you do?
Like, what's your job? Because I don't know. So I made a thing of just making sure I learnt everyone's name and got to know everyone, and it was, you know, it was lovely, and because it meant that we had a sort of tiny pool of very talented people on ManFish, and we took those with us, and then that pool just grew and grew and grew to have even more talented people. You know, a costume designer who I hadn't worked with before, a first AD who I hadn't worked with before. All of these different people, gaffers, that, you know, they were all just brilliant at their job, and it did take a while to get used to. And I still remember that first day of shooting was obviously mildly terrifying. But you got used to it quickly, because ultimately I always knew what I wanted as the director and as the writer. I always knew what I was trying to achieve. So amongst all this kind of hustle and bustle of having all these people around you, when it's just you, the monitor, and you're in the room, and I'm always in the room. I don't like being outside of the room. That was a thing of like people trying to set me up outside the room in a sort of video village. I just wasn't interested. I was only interested in being in the room with the DOP, with the monitor, and just being able to relay information back, and having that shorthand of being an actor and knowing what it's like, and being able to communicate with people quickly, because then you don't, you know, and I'm working with the same editor, so it means that we can do something doesn't go wrong, or we want to change the take, we'll keep the cameras rolling, let's do it again, let's take it from this point, but this time we'll do it ever slightly differently, or whatever the note may be. And then, so we're not stopping and starting all of the time. We're not just eating. We're getting footage in the can, and I'm in the edit with Dan. Dan's edited with me before, so he knows that the take is probably longer than what it is. So, yeah, just all those little indie things that you can take to a slightly bigger scale that are really helpful.
Yeah, very much so. Kaleidoscope picked this one up, which is great. Members Club. It is out now. How was that? Were you involved in the deal? Was it Blackwater going, we'll handle this?
No, thankfully Blackwater kind of took this from me and Gav, because, you know, it's their film that they've funded, and so they took it, and they did a deal with Kaleidoscope. So in terms of the kind of ins and outs of that stuff, I don't really know too much. They kind of kept us in the loop, which was really lovely of them, and they kind of listened to our opinions and stuff as well, because we'd kind of been through the process before, and but it was much easier this time because we had sort of names in the cast that we were able to kind of sell the film off of as well. So it meant that distributors were more interested to buy it for a certain fee than what they would have been with ManFish, because even though it had extremely talented actors in it, ultimately they weren't people that sell films, unfortunately, which is a sort of bane of the industry, which really annoys me.
Yeah, I know. It is. It's frustrating. It's just happens all the time. And it'll happen on your next film, especially now, the step up, they'll be like, oh, great, well, let's go get Jude Law. And you're like, yeah, sure, I'd love Jude Law. However, I'd love Jude Law to be doing this movie. So what's the plan next? You got another one? You're writing one now?
Yeah, I've been co-writing a project for about a year. So like we wrapped, we completed Members Club in January, and then it came on at Fright Fest in August. So it kind of it did a few festivals before it's just been released. So we did. So the whole time when we were in festivals and stuff, I was writing again, and I was co-writing with a good friend of mine, and have been writing a sort of comedy sci-fi that we're hoping that we can put into production very early next year. Blackwater really like it, so we're hoping that we can have a lovely relationship with Blackwater again, and they can make it. But if not, then we'll maybe go elsewhere and stuff. But yeah, it's really exciting, and they've been lovely to us through the process and kind of championed us as new filmmakers. So I've kind of sort of ready now to sort of move on to other projects and kind of get stuff off the ground.
It's amazing. Well done, mate. It's it's great to see the journey. It's great to see that progression, and the fact that you're going even through the shitty times, and when you think I'm never gonna make a movie, a feature, it can hurt, and it can make you stop and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. And that passion and that belief in yourself, and however you got inspired, is great, and it's really nice to see this. And I appreciate you coming on and telling your story.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. No, it's been great, and well done to you guys as well for. It's been lovely to see the podcast grow over the years as well, and see the kind of guests that you get on, and how far you guys have gone as well. And I think how important it is for indie filmmaking stuff to listen and to kind of get a sort of variation of guests on here as well, of getting Christopher McQuarrie on, and then getting me talking about hanging around in his pants.
Yeah, but just as vital, and do you know, it is, because every level is just another step, and there's no difference. I'm sure he was in his pants at one point making Jerry triangles into plastic bags. I'm sure.
Yeah, we've been there.
But we've all been there, and we've all done it, and I think that's what this industry is. And it's nice of you to say about the podcast as well. But that's why I love doing it, to chat to people, to learn. And this just didn't exist really when I was trying to make my first feature, and I sort of vowed that I would let other people learn from my mistakes a little bit, and then now other people's, and it's just it's nice to chat this way, and
big time
general chat, and you just meet really cool people all the time. You meet indie filmmakers. That's
you do really that's nice right too.
So it's there's benefits to the film. It's the same, there's filmmaking, there's benefits, and I learn all the time. So it's very nice.
It is.
So thank you very much for listening. If you are like Marc Coleman and you go out there and make a film, whether it's in your pants or if you decide to go make a 10-foot testicle and just drag it around in a shopping trolley, that is up to you. But if it does really well and you rise up to the top of that 10-foot testicle, where the elevator is right at the top, it is your duty to send that elevator back down. We will see you all next Tuesday. Marc Coleman, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, man. You really dug yourself a hole there with that whole 10-foot testicles thing. But
I really did do that.
Well, I'm getting through it, yeah.
Thank you. I did get through it. So I was thinking Jack and the Beanstalk at one point, and I'll go up the giant 10-foot testicle bit and then slide down, but it just didn't.
No, it didn't work. Right. But that's okay.
It didn't work.
The film didn't really work for me, so it's all it's fine.
We're all win-winning.
We're all win-win. Yeah, thanks, man.
Members Club is out now. Go watch, go support, see how something can get made for a decent budget, and you can then go watch ManFish and see how a really fun, exciting movie gets made for $13,000 and gets on Shudder and does extremely well. Cool, buddy. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate.